leaving you. Oh, don't you know where they're going to?
Hello, my name is Jack Plouffe, project manager for RIPTA. My main project here is the tunnel, renovating the historic tunnel. It started in 1912. The design and the completion of the tunnel was 1914.
So the tunnel was built in 1914 as a way to help streetcars navigate the steep hills on the east side of Providence. So the tunnel's at a lower grade and it's at a longer distance to make sure that the vehicles could get up without struggling. And it's been in operation for well over 100 years. And it was time for some renovations and improvements to make sure that it'll be around for another 100 years.
These are the original plans when the tunnel was built. This was actually designed in 6 months' time. It's amazing what they did back then. From start to finish, the construction was 18 months. So these are all hand-drawn back then on blueprints. We got our hands on these drawings in our archives. It shows you the thickness of the tunnel at the bottom here. It's about 6 feet, and then up here at the arch is about 2 feet thick. This is at the RISD driveway. The RISD building is on the top of this right here. This is the top of the driveway looking at the building. This tunnel was built while the RISD building was still there. All this steel had to be installed under the RISD building. We just had to make sure that there was no steel that was rusted through. We had to add some plates, had to add some fireproofing in case there was any kind of fire. The fireproofing prevents it from melting. And then once the steel melts, then it bends, then the building comes collapsing in. So this is a crucial part of the build back in 1914. The historic bus shelter, we are bringing it back to its original luster. So when you go down to the bus shelter, it's going to be like you're back in 1914. We replaced all the copper panels, the copper gutters. I have a piece of the gutter. This is the gutter right here. So I'm just keeping an archive of all the parts and pieces that we take off of the shelter.
In order to make sure that we got that shelter to look as it should have back in 1914, we worked closely with RISD and Brown and historical preservation societies to really peel back the layers and figure out what the colors were, what the materials were. We worked real closely to make sure that it really did meet the original design.
We're replacing all the gutters with brand new gutters, copper gutters. And what we're doing here is there's 2 samples here, and we're accelerating the patina finish. So it's like an acid product that you apply to the new copper, and in 2 or 3 days we get the patinaed finish here. And this will match the roof, the existing shelter roof. This right here is cast iron. This is one of the poles holding up the bus shelter. As you see how thick it is. This column is about 700 pounds. For each one. We had an accident with a bus that hit one of the columns in the bus shelter and demolished it, so we needed to replace that column. We had trouble finding a foundry that would make an 8-foot cast iron column. Then we were doing some exploratory work in the electrical room, and I actually found one in the back of the corner of that room. We're actually going to reuse it. This column right here is what I found in the electrical room. It originally looked like this column here, and then also here, this decorative column piece here, RISD is doing a reverse mold on it, is going to recreate this so we can install it here. This here was a piece of the column, decorative piece of the column. We had RISD, they came in and did a reverse mold.
Making improvements to a tunnel has been a long time coming. Over 10 years ago, we started receiving funding for this project from Senator Reid and the entire congressional delegation, and finally we were in a position to execute the project this spring, and it's been going just wonderful.
The design for the renovation of the tunnel started in June of 2023. We started construction March of 2024. We ran about 7 months, and we're going to be completed on October 31st of 2024. The first bus is going to run through there Halloween morning at about 5:30 a.m.
How you looked when you smiled, only forever, that's putting it mild.
In the case of our construction projects, the one behind me is a 110-year-old tunnel. New challenges have faced both the authority and the construction industry as how they will perform safely in a 2,000-foot tunnel, which is a construction project that doesn't happen every day. Again, a 110-year-old tunnel. Things that would have been a regular addition to a tunnel being constructed today weren't constructed over a century ago. So for a 2,000-foot tunnel, one of the biggest challenges that are out there remains fire suppression. Should there be an event that occurs within the tunnel, we have to make sure that in this case the Providence Fire Department has the ability to get adequate amounts of water to anything that could happen in the tunnel. So there's a new fire suppression system which is actually being installed so that the fire apparatus would have readily accessible water, pressurized water, deep down into the tunnel instead of having to ferry it back and forth in fire trucks, which is also a safety issue if you're trying to maneuver multiple trucks in a tunnel of this length. Lighting has been an ongoing issue in this tunnel over the years. As you can imagine, old lighting fixtures were in there, so it was a very dark tunnel. We do see literally 100+ trips a day that go through this tunnel with RIPTA buses. RIPTA also allows first responders access to this tunnel if there are issues with the roadways and they have to get either from the top, from Thayer Street down to North Main Street or vice versa. Having that added traffic in there, we have to make sure that there is incredible levels of safety. Lighting is and continues to be a big major part in our enhancements here so that the drivers can clearly see with reflectors and other safety appurtenances, if you will, on the walls so that there aren't any strikes. There'll be ongoing, not just for the construction, but ongoing protocols and procedures and policies that will be policed to make sure that people in this tunnel are operating at the safe speeds that they need to. It's actually pretty incredible when you're dealing with a century-old project, something that's good to do for the arts community, especially being right under the Rhode Island School of Design. Seeing the level of brick that was restored back there, restoring this back to its normal beauty from 1914 has been very impressive. We've seen things that have had to be fixed. We've done deep engineering into this tunnel. So like any existing structure, you do find things that you have to deal with as they expose themselves. We want to be the best partner with the community that we're working with and the users. So when we identify that there's a problem, we do everything within our power to structurally change the transportation department, our planning department, a lot of very good people putting their heads together to make sure that the end result is a positive one for the rider, as well as for RIPTA to make sure that we're delivering safe service. The end product is going to be a phenomenal project, like I said, that will keep this tunnel healthy, vibrant, and a true architectural gem in the city of Providence for well over another 100 years.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher Durand, Interim CEO for RIPTA, and I welcome you all here today for the ribbon cutting of this fantastic project. I want to acknowledge Senator Reed, Congressman Amo, Mayor Smiley, Mr. Speaker, and Eric Pipetti, who's here on behalf of Pete Butler from FTA Region 1. Very excited. This has been a project we've had going for a long time. It's a major piece of infrastructure. This is one of the few dedicated right-of-ways where only RIPTA can go through. So having this infrastructure in a state of good repair is a really big deal to us. This is a fixed skyway for us. So it's part of the formula for how we get our federal funding. And it contributes to a lot of the funding that we do receive. I next want to introduce the man who helps make sure that bucket is as big as he possibly can for us, Senator Reed. We're thankful to the congressional delegation, including Senator Reed, for all their support on supporting transit and transportation in the state. Without their support, this project wouldn't have been possible.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, not only for those kind words, but for your great leadership of a fabulous RIPTA team that does so much for transit in Rhode Island. We are, I think, the model. We are celebrating the East Side Transit Tunnel reopening, and we're reminded how this landmark reflects Rhode Island's commitment to advancing modern and sustainable public transit. The restoration project not only enhances the tunnel's structure and bus services, but it also recognizes the history of this area. Things like the North Main Street passenger shelters is designated so that people can understand the history of Providence. Now, it took a lot of work to get this done, about $25 million worth of work. The first thing we did, and DOT led the way, a $1.7 million in planning grants so we could design the structure and be prepared to build. And then, as a member of the Urban Affairs Committee and the Banking Committee, we helped write laws to increase the formula funding for transit in Rhode Island by $18.3 million for this project.
I think this tunnel is really emblematic of what makes transit in New England so special. We have this 100-year-old piece of infrastructure that is still able to serve us today and really creates the bones of an effective transit system, as long as we choose to maintain it and update it, that is really unique throughout the country. When we see other parts of the country, they don't have this baseline to start from. They don't have this amazing infrastructure that's just left over from 100 years ago that we can still put to work today. At the same time, certainly putting that stuff to work today is a challenge. You know, keeping these things safe and up to modern codes takes money, it takes time, and it takes attention and advocacy from the local community as well.
I just love the fact that there's this like really crucial piece of transit infrastructure in the middle of the city, surrounded by some of the best schools in the world and all the culture that Providence has to offer, and to see such a transit asset exist in that has always been really exciting to me.
I think about my first experiences riding the bus when I would ride on Route 42 down Hope Street and come through the tunnel. It was much darker then, it wasn't well lit, and I am grateful to see the structural repairs to reinforce the tunnel's integrity. And we've got to make sure that it can serve another 100 years.
We installed new structural fireproofing materials. We also did leak repairs in the entire tunnel by removing the shotcrete off the walls and the ceiling, making sure that that's safe for many years to come. Added anti-graffiti measures to the new walls, improved the drainage and the catch basins to make sure that the water flows out and doesn't freeze and causing dangerous conditions for the buses. We also improved the lighting to make sure that it's more visible. Formerly the tunnel was pretty dark. Now it'll be very bright and easy for operators to navigate. So the next phase is looking at some of the pedestrian improvements and transit amenities on either side of a tunnel, starting with Thayer Street on the upper side of the tunnel and making sure that it's safe for our riders and pedestrians in the area. We've got a vision of what transit should look like as part of the transit master plan. Transit Forward RI means better transit for the state. And to get there, we've got to really build on the fundamentals, making sure we have the drivers and the workforce to run the service, but making sure we also have the assets and the infrastructure that supports the service. And I think the tunnel is a really big component of that. And as we build on this, having taken care of the tunnel and made these investments, we'll be able to confidently improve service and expand service in line with our strategic goals.
The public face of RIPTA is changing, and it needs to change. We need to make sure that more people utilize RIPTA. Every year, and this year is going to be even more difficult, there's always competition for dollars at the State House. I see Nicole over there, who was a big advocate for more RIPTA funding, and we were able to. We had a little bit of extra money last year to keep RIPTA fully operational without any service cuts. And we were happy to make that investment. I hope we can make it again this year.
Speaker, thank you for continuing to prioritize transit in the midst of tough budgets, and it is not lost on us that you were able to make that happen this year. I see great transit advocates here like Patricia and Dylan and others who are out there every day making sure that policymakers like me and others are putting transit at the front of our conversations, and we do in fact all want to see a healthier, more vibrant, better system that can serve more people, and we're moving in that direction.
This is, I think, the unique thing about public service is you get these opportunities to do really big, bold things that are going to help people or impact people's lives in a positive way for a long time. And so it's what we do, and I'm very appreciative to have a role in it and proud of the team for all their work on this. It's very exciting. You think about the work you do, having that potential impact, the entire team should be proud, because this work will stand up for the next 100 years And it's just very meaningful. It's not too often you get the chance to say that something like that's going to last that long. So very proud of the whole team and with its operators, supervisors, project management, everyone, marketing folks, everybody who's involved in keeping the service going and getting this project done. I'm proud of you all and very thankful for your help.
Everything turned out well. It really did. And I will be talking about this tunnel for years to come. I'll be telling my grandkids about it. So it's one of those accomplishments that I can talk about proudly. You know, someone 100 years from now is going to be doing the same thing I'm doing right now, and hopefully it won't be to the extent that we're doing it, because you know, we'll be maintaining it. Once this project's done, that's going to be my next focus, is making sure that maintenance plan is in place and also being completed.
Talk about your subway, talk about your rail, talk about the streetcar lines as well. But when you're living out where the fields are green,
You got to go home on the 550.